shop for summer clothes. Think pink, think pink if you want that kelp that shows. Red is dead, blue is through, green's obscene, brown's taboo, and there is not the slightest excuse for plum abuse or chartreuse.
G'day gorgeous. It's pretty late in the day here. Daylight savings has stopped, and so it makes it a bit challenging to kind of get to make these little snippets for you early enough in the afternoon, and I've had a really busy day. I think what's awesome though is that I've been able to have huge levels of connection this week talking to people about the importance of the sense of self and why it is that we actually start with that whenever we talk about when you need to kind of fix things, when you need to fix your life, or you feel like it's not quite going for you, that we often focus on things that seem to be the important things. Our, weight, we're unhappy with how we feel within our own body, or our relationships, maybe we're not in a relationship or we're unhappy in the relationship that we're in. Or the other thing that tends to happen is people get a bit thrown by their careers. So they've got to focus on their careers, something happens or something changes, maybe they lose their job, or particular issue kind of comes in where that area of your life you're unable to kind of use that as the basis upon which you see yourself as being valuable. And this is always where it comes back to our sense of self. So when I work with clients, I always focus initially on repairing how they see themselves. We work on the negative belief system, what it is that they think about themselves as individuals first, before anything else. Now, often people initially come to see me because of the special therapeutic work I do, which is around trauma. So there's a particular issue that's come up, but invariably where we have to go is right back to the beginning. So how they developed that sort of sense of themselves. And we all do it from the time we're quite young. I think if you go back and see an earlier blog that I made about how we develop over time our sense of self, I talk about the stages or the developmental stages that go in 7-year cycles. And essentially what happens is that by the time we reach adulthood, so halfway through the third developmental cycle, so around that sort of between 18 and 21, most of us decide at that point that who we are as human beings we don't like, that we don't like who we've been or who we see ourselves as through our adolescence, and we make a determination that we want to be somebody different. So we adopt a persona that we kind of show to the outside world, and that's who we sort of see ourselves as, and that's who we become for a large part of our adult life. And when people kind of talk about midlife crises, the reality is that the reason that we start to feel differently about ourselves is that we kind of do that for about 2 developmental cycles. So for most women, for whatever reason, arguably you could say about how they develop a little bit faster than men, it often is around that 35 mark. Some people it's not, and men I would say often not until they're sort of in their 40s, around 42. But it's at that point where you kind of start to go, you know what? I feel like a fraud. I feel like the person that I present to the world on a daily basis isn't actually who I am. And that if people knew who I really was, nobody would want to be around me anyway. Because underneath it all, we often find that we don't actually like who we are as human beings. And I always say to my clients, the day that you can actually stand in front of the mirror and say you really like who you are. And I don't mean how you look, I mean who you are. When you can truly like who you are, the universe can bring everything else that you deserve and lay it at your feet, literally. Because when you start reflecting out into the world, all of the positive things that you see about yourself as a human being, what you get back is reflected to you what you put out about yourself. But the reason that we often don't feel good about ourselves is because what we're actually putting out into the world is negative. We don't think we're good people. We don't value ourselves. We see ourselves as not being worthy or worthwhile, not worth being loved. Certainly not good at what we do necessarily, even though we can kind of fake it. And that whole idea of fake it until you make it, I hate that. Hate it. You don't need to fake it, gorgeous. You just need to truly understand that your base belief system was developed when you were a child, where your thinking was very black and white, and your strong kind of position at that time about I'm not good enough, nobody wants me, nobody would ever want to be with me. If you've come from a broken family that potentially you felt rejection from a parent, you always are going to then struggle in relationships because you perceive rejection from those who are close to you. Because if a parent can't love you, why would anybody else? That's why I do what I do on a daily basis, because I've lived through those exact same feelings and I've come through the other side, and I can honestly say, I can look in the mirror and say, I really like who I am as a person. That's not ego, that's a genuine sense of value in how I see myself as a human being. And as a result, I then get back to me a lot of kind of positive feedback from other people around me. And I'm able to actually enjoy the things in life that I really love to do. And that includes working with you. Okay, I hope you found that interesting. The noise you can hear in the background, the dog's gone in the kennel and decided that he was going to make himself a little bed in there while I'm talking to you. Anyway, I hope that was useful, gorgeous. Have a great week and I'll see you soon.
Pink for cheeks and pink at your lips, pink for shirts and all of your slips, just a touch of pink at your knees, and if you please, what? Pink chemise.